What's up, Trunk Slayers? It's Monday. That means it's Spicy Monday. It is good or bad, whatever, to see you. Depends on how spicy you're feeling. We're going to talk today a little bit about customer service, which in and of itself could be a wonderfully interesting, spicy topic. But instead, what we're going to talk about is this trend I see in entrepreneurs especially of confusing having complete accountability and authority to make a decision or run a business with the concept of customer service. And at face value, that may not really sound very problematic. And when you're small, it probably isn't. It's actually probably advantageous. But as you start to not be small, it's what leads a lot of businesses to hit their Peter Principled ceiling of growth. And it's why so many of you, even if you are objectively good at all of the skills that you are trying to put forth and practice, can't seem to get out of your own ways to grow more. So I make a lot of, I think they're helpful, posts on Reddit trying to help people who present operational challenges. And usually when I post these comments, there will always be at least one person who will come in and respond to me that will basically say something along the lines of, I agree with the logic, but I would never do that because I'm a customer service business and you're advocating something that isn't good customer service. What's funny about every time I see one of those comments is I can pretty much predict exactly the exact size, personality, and persona of not only that MSP, but also the person who owns it. And I can tell you exactly probably how large they are, and depending on where they're located geographically, how big they're ever going to get. And that might sound like a pretty bold claim to make, you know, what are you, like a psychic or something? But it's because that type of thinking is so limiting to your ability to grow a successful business, especially in more competitive markets, that actually the more competitive the market you are in, the less important focusing on things that you think are good customer service are, instead of actually focusing on the things that will allow you to render good customer service. The fuck did any of that mean? Let's talk about it. So when you're a small business owner, and I had a whole long spiel I was going to make about comparing this to Bob Vila and Norm Abrams and New Yankee Workshop and getting inspired to do woodworking, but nobody wants to hear that. If you used to watch those shows, just pretend I'm talking about woodworking. So when you run a small business, especially when it first starts out and it's owner-led everything, it's very hard to mentally disassociate the parts of what you are doing that led you to be successful from the parts of what you are doing that are necessary just to keep the lights on. If you wanted to think about it, about cost of goods sold and everything that's below the line, I think a lot of solopreneurs or very small companies in any industry have a lot of trouble disassociating what the cogs are from everything that's below the line. I think that's an important concept because a lot of those folks, spicy tidbit, a lot of you that are really good at doing a task are pretty shitty business owners. And actually, I don't think that's that spicy of a comment because I think that's important to remember. Like, obviously, you're not good at everything. You're good at IT. That's why you started an IT business, or you're good at whatever your SaaS product is, or you're a good programmer, or you're good at marketing. You're not objectively magically perfect at running all of a business. And it is incredibly easy in most Western countries to start a small business. So a lot of people who are completely unqualified, and that never changes, to run a small business are able to run a small business. I understand why so many entrepreneurs are unable to see certain elements that are a given by being a solo entrepreneur that aren't actually necessarily scalable factors of success. Stick with me for a minute. So let's say I run a ice cream stand in a tourist spot. Very simple. It's a box, like a shipping container box. That's it. Ice cream stand. And what I'm talking about here is I sell ice cream. So obviously everything around selling the ice cream is super important, and specifically the ice cream and my ability to transact with it is the most important. But every day when I go in to sell ice cream, I have to walk up to the door, unlock it, open it, walk through it, and close it. If I don't open the door and go in, I can't sell the ice cream. So I can't be successful if I don't open the door. But a lot of business owners will start to equate opening the door with being successful. Does that make sense? And you can see how you get there, because as we just said, of course, I have to walk into the space to sell the ice cream. I can't sell the product if I can't reach the product. But being able to access the product in and of itself is just part of the job. It's not a success metric. Yeah, it might be something later on that you find some wonderfully creative and funky way to optimize to help enable your success metric, but that's your job. You're supposed to go through the door to get to where the ice cream is. That's not actually what good customer service is. But that type of thinking is what stops a lot of service-based businesses from being able to grow, because they focus on those wrong parts. And they look at a situation like that and they put a counter up on the front of that ice cream parlor that says, "We've opened and closed the door 200 times today." Because they think that is a measure of success. And they think that by doing that, they are indicating to everyone around them that they're doing a good job. But that's not why anybody's there. I'm there for ice cream. I'm not there for how many times you enter or exit where the ice cream's stored. So what does this have to do with IT and MSPs? Well, as I said at the beginning, where I see this happening a lot is with this idea of having 100% authority and accountability over the outcome of literally anything. And when you're a small business and you, the entrepreneur, the owner, the many hats person, you have that. And I think that's really important. It's why I originally wanted to compare this back to woodworking, is if I'm doing something at a hobby level, which a lot of smaller businesses are, I'm sorry, but they're hobby level businesses. If I'm doing something at a hobby level, of course I have 100% control over the outcome. All of the successes and all of the failures are me. I'm basically the product at that point. Even if I'm not what's being sold, since all of that is tied back to my complete ability not only to execute and produce whatever it is, but also, in my ice cream example, literally to open the door and get in. Every decision has 100% equal value in me having a successful output. I don't disagree with that. Getting out of bed is important at that level of business. But the thing is, very quickly that diminishes, and that is no longer the case. And if you want to grow a successful business that can scale, it's why it's so important to put a process and operationalize and standardize everything, because you can't scale you. And the thing is, all of that, you're probably like, yeah, I get all that, Dean. I've read that in the book, and I'm with you. The problem is, the entire time you have this insidious voice in the back of your head that's preventing you from making those choices, because you are thinking from a position of, I have 100% authority and accountability for everything I'm doing. So I had a particular Reddit comment recently where somebody had too many, they had identified a problem, that their all-you-can-eat agreements were designed to support a certain volume of tickets. And some of their clients, due to just having been on these all-you-can-eat agreements for a long period of time, had gotten to a point where all of their major business problems had been standardized and more or less solved. So users were now flooding their help desk with a lot of relatively trivial, nonsensy type tickets. You know, how do I do this? My mouse battery's died, like that kind of stuff. And this person was saying that we're getting so many of these tickets flooding in that it is starting to dilute our ability to actually take care of the things we need to do. Translation, these agreements, if not running unprofitably, are running unserviceably, because no service team has an infinite department of people. So their availability and capacity have been maxed out simply due to the volume of low demand tickets at their door. And they wanted solutions for this. I provided some pretty actionable solutions that can leverage their existing tools to help drive down that behavior. And most folks over on the Reddit said, yeah, that makes sense. That sounds like a pretty logical way to drive down that behavior. What always happens when I post something like that is I will get a comment of somebody saying, I agree, But that's bad customer service. You're turning away customers. That was a chance for every one of those tickets to make a user feel important, to give them a great experience. And if you don't do that, then I don't agree with that. Emotionally, logically, and that won't grow. That's not how you build a service business. And that's what we're talking about. It's that thinking that the repetition of the tasks and the frequency that I repeat them on is why I'm here. And it's that loss of focus. It's that thought that the number of times I open the door to get into the ice cream parlor to serve ice cream is what I should be proud of, not the ice cream. And it's thinking that comes back from this idea of having 100% accountability and authority from everything, which when you're small, you have. So when you're small, when it's just you, when your business is still at that hobby stage, yes, I get that. That makes sense. Every task you're doing, every ticket you're working, every client is the most important client in every moment. And it's always that way because it's in here, in your brain. And you have 100% accountability and authority to make that so and retroactively convince yourself that you made it so because it's you and everything is in here. But the minute it's not just you and the minute you want to start scaling, that falls apart. And the thing is, that kind of logic is the death of good customer service. It's not good customer service. So I watch a YouTuber that makes these beautiful, absolutely exquisite, beautiful custom black walnut, mostly epoxy tables. And these tables sell anywhere from 20 to 30, 40, 50 grand. They're very expensive. All handmade, just by him. And he's got a very high-end workshop. He's got a lot of fancy tools, and he has one full-time employee who's a videographer who records all this stuff for YouTube. So trying to give you guys an idea of the scope and the scale. There's probably easily at this point now, I would say $500,000 worth of tools in his shop, even though it is technically still a home shop. It's a very professional home shop. This is not some knucklehead goofing around in his backyard shed. This is a professional operation, except is it? So the thing with all of this is he puts this immense amount of time and skill and care into every table. He can pivot somewhat according to requests and changes. He can modify the outcome of what's happening due to any unforeseen circumstances. He has so much ability to be fluid because he has 100% of the accountability and the authority here. He's also only able really to work on 1 or 2 customers at a time. So for his current size, that's not a problem. Because if he's able to, takes him a couple months to make a table. If he's able to make a couple of 2 tables every couple of months at 30 grand, that's a pretty good living for one person. It don't work that way when you build a business, folks. It doesn't work that way when you build a business. He can't go and find 10 more of him that are also going to be employees. Because think about it, he's not an employee. He started his own business with his own shop that is optimized for him with tools that are his favorite tools for his favorite workflow that he has 100% accountability and authority over, for clients that he hand selects to work on at his pace, and then he gives them his price. That doesn't work once you start adding employees. As soon as you shift from a model where you are the master craftsman and you just have a handful of apprentice subordinates that are helping you with shop tasks, where you actually start shifting the cost of goods sold over to your employees, it doesn't work that way anymore. Because if it worked that way, they would go start their own businesses because they would be master craftsmen. And they don't want to be master craftsmen for you. So the type of people that are going to be employees, that are going to be in a scalable model where you can deliver that kind of experience, requires you have a standardized model. That's right. This entire video is about standardization. I fooled you. If you got to the end here, then comment standardization in the comments. Dean tricked you. You thought it was about customer service. But that's my point. At the end of the day, the value we place as entrepreneurs, as founders, on the individual interaction, our thought that having a customized, bespoke, whatever is the value add. that opening the door 500 times a day to go serve the ice cream is a task worth being proud of. I understand why we all start off thinking that way, but you have to learn to pivot, and you have to understand that the best customer experience doesn't come from you doing everything by hand, reactionary to every client. It comes from having a standardized way you do everything that's delivered consistently. That's the best customer experience. Once you figure that out, once how all your tickets are worked or how your SaaS product is delivered, whatever, is so standardized where every employee you hire can give a taste of that experience you were giving when it was just you. Do you know what you could focus on at that point? You can literally then exclusively focus on the customer experience at scale, because now you've got dozens of staff. You've got a massive workshop. You've got any tool you want. You have all the resources, and you have a process everyone's always following. Now you can start playing around with any element of the customer. Go back to that ice cream example. Maybe at this point, you come up with some funky, cool way where the customer is going to get to walk in behind the counter themselves and serve their own ice cream. Now opening and closing that door is part of the customer experience. That's fun. I think they did that for a while, right? With the self-serve froyo places. My point is, now you can do funky, weird things because you've established a standard. But till you have a standardized way you're doing stuff, you're just walking around patting yourself on the back for how many rolls of toilet paper you changed, and no one cares about that. I want to sit down and have a clean butt. I don't care how many stalls you walked into. I don't care how many rolls you changed last night. Don't tell me that. That's not something to be proud of. And don't tell me that every roll you change with a whistle and a smile, because that's good customer service. I don't want that. I want to sit down and have a clean fanny. That's what I'm actually there for. Have a great Monday.